I kind of expect this to be a really ugly game where there's low energy, and I don't particularly expect Kansas State to play well. I think it's going to be one of those games that K-State probably wins, but it's going to be an ugly, you're going to feel like, what did I just watch for 3.5 hours type game.
Hello and welcome into another edition of Three Ma. John Kurtz, Cole Manbeck, Derek Young with you off the bye week, refreshed and ready to go. As always, the show is brought to you by our good friends at Holiday Distillery. They've got your Ben Holiday bottled in bond bourbon. If you need it for a watch party this weekend or any tailgates the rest of the year, if you need it for the basketball game coming up on Thursday, depending on when you're listening to this, get some Ben Holiday bottled in bond bourbon or 360 vodka. Perfect for any occasion. Thank you to our friends at Holiday Distillery for their help, as always. Okay. We are just fired up for this show. The vibe, a lot different than last we talked to you in this format as a pregame show for Texas Tech when it was like, hey, finally got a big game this year. Now it feels like, I got to be honest, guys, it feels a little bit like, hey, man, season's dead. Cole and I both said basically the same thing. Like, I was sitting here yesterday at about this time, like, oh man, that's right. I've got to prep like a whole regular show here. I was just thinking I'd hop on and start. It felt like the season was over, I guess is the point to me. And then Cole said he realized last night he hadn't done anything on Oklahoma State. So it's just, take it as disrespect or what. Oklahoma State can do whatever they want with this at this point, but it doesn't it kind of feel like that? I mean, I hate to say it. There's 3 games left, but it feels like, what are you going to accomplish the rest of the year that is really meaningful?
It might be disrespect, but I'm not sure anyone from Oklahoma State's listening to anything.
You say that, BY, they're going to get bulletin board material. This show is going to be played on repeat through that locker room after we disrespect the hell out of Oklahoma State.
Doug Meacham's going to get a hold of Three Ma, yeah.
Guys, I give this speech all the time. I can't even go there. I can't give you the fake motivational speech that you only get 12 opportunities to do this. John, it feels like it's kind of over. Like, what are you playing for? A bowl to go to the Armed Forces Bowl to play Jacksonville State or like one of the, I don't even look at bowl projections anymore, but I've seen some ridiculous opponents.
Unless they get thrown to the Liberty Bowl, which is probably one of the 3 possibilities, you're probably going to be playing a Group of 5 opponent in either the Armed Forces Bowl or the Independence Bowl.
I think we kind of already know, like you absolutely should win 2 of the last 3, but there's virtually no chance, especially with Austin Romaine out, which we can hit on too, that you're going to go to Utah and slow that running game. So you're probably going to finish the season 6-6 and 5-4 in the Big 12, and just to significant disappointment. And
it's funny. Obviously, this is the Oklahoma State show, but you talk about how they won't be able to stop Utah's ground game. Like they got to score too. I don't know.
That too.
The Utah game's not going to be fun. Not looking forward to that. They've beaten everybody in the Big 12 by 30 plus, and that's not an exaggeration. That's a real stat. So good luck. Look, the first headline I have for you is just like, how much is the team going to care? How much is the team going to care? They have come off a bye week, right? A lot of guys were at home. So it's not just like, hey, deflating, we're out of the Big 12 race. What do we have left to play for? It's also, I got to detach for a week and go home. And now I'm coming back. Like, how fired up am I going to be getting into this? And it even, felt like in the press conference, and rightfully so, like some of the vibes from like Chris Kleiman and company probably should be at this point, like, hey, we start making sure our house is in order for the off season and what we're going to do in the portal and what this roster is going to look like next year. You probably should be devoting a lot of attention and energy to that, or at least some. So how does that trickle down to everybody? That to me is really the question. Like, how do they show up? I just have a hard time seeing guys that were able to detach for a week, go home, coming off the disappointment of the Texas Tech game, knowing they're not in the Big 12 race anymore. In this day and age, say what you will about, guys and the opportunity and Cole's fake rah-rah speech and all that. Like, in this day and age, that's kind of that's always going to be a concern. Like, that's not a K-State specific concern.
Absolutely. I think the only lasting thing that's kind of the carrot to dangle here for maybe a locked-in preparation focus and then the performance on Saturday is that even if you do have aspirations of being elsewhere at some time and are not exactly in tune to what is still there to play for in a Kansas State uniform, you still got to put like some pretty good tape out there. So that's probably what you have left to kind of dangle and to play for, to be honest. I doubt that there's many in that locker room that are saying, gosh, I hope we get to the Armed Forces Bowl or the Independence Bowl or the Liberty Bowl. I don't know if Fort Worth, Shreveport, and Memphis are, on anyone's Christmas list at this point. So it's a little self-pride in what you still have to accomplish yourself in order to put yourself in the right situation, I think, after the season, whatever you may choose to be. So I think that's what's there. Preparation will probably the hay's almost in a barn, so to speak, and that how Kansas State looks on Saturday is going to be dependent upon the preparation, how locked in and focused they are to that. Obviously, we weren't, so we'll see what the roster was or wasn't. But I would say that the teams that kind of slept walk against Oklahoma State, I would say were Baylor, Houston, and Kansas. Baylor still won by 18 on the road. Houston still won by 22 on the road. Kansas still won by 17 at home.
Yeah, the only thing to what you said is that you have an opportunity to put some stats and some numbers up and some stuff on film if you're looking to go into the portal or boost your stock in some capacity. And so this is an opportunity to do that because you're playing the worst team on your schedule. And yes, that's right, the worst team on your schedule, guys. Kansas State has been prepared for this because they played North Dakota. All right, North Dakota is 108th in the SP Plus on ESPN. Oklahoma State is 151st in the SP Plus rankings. K-State played North Dakota as a 27-point favorite and won by 3. Kansas State is a 19.5-point favorite in Stillwater this next weekend on Saturday. And look, guys, this is a spot that Kansas State has struggled under Kleiman. They've lost 6 games outright as a double-digit favorite when he's been at K-State, and that includes Army as a 17-point favorite, Houston as 13, 11.5 at Oklahoma State in 2023. They were favored by 14 at home versus Tulane in 2022. 13-point favorite to Arkansas State in the pandemic season, and a 14.5-point favorite in the loss to West Virginia at home in 2019. So he has struggled in this spot, and Kansas State going on the road and playing in front of sparse crowds where there's no energy has also struggled. Think about the Arizona game this year where there was a minimal crowd, the Houston game last year where there was hardly anybody as well. There's been multiple times where Kansas State's gone on the road. The Baylor game, and that game, they didn't really struggle. They should have won the game in Waco, but they lose games in front of low energy type crowds like this. And so how ready are they going to be to play against the worst Power 4 team in college football and one of the worst teams in all of the FBS? And the numbers will tell that to you. That's the question. And I frankly don't know. I would tell you guys that I kind of expect this to be a really ugly game where there's low energy, and I don't particularly expect Kansas State to play well. I think it's going to be one of those games that K-State probably wins, but it's going to be an ugly, you're going to feel like, what did I just watch for 3.5 hours type game.
Love those. Go Cats. Cole, I was thinking you could change your rah-rah speech. You made a good point. Like, hey, your motivation as a player now might be just like, hey, if I'm going to try and drive my rate up, or, go into the portal, you can change that rah-rah speech. Gentlemen, you only get 12 opportunities every year to up your value in the transfer portal. All right? We are going to go out on that field in Stillwater, and you've got a chance to make yourself much more valuable to other schools in the transfer portal. That's the 2025 rah-rah any given Sunday locker room speech now that you have to give.
Yeah. To the point of where the roster is headspace wise and all this stuff. And this doesn't necessarily mean that no one's trying hard or putting forth great effort this week or won't on Saturday. But, and we'll get into it, I know, you have some guys that have shut it down already in this last bye week. Austin Romaine, due to injuries, just they've decided, I think, collectively that it probably wasn't worth for him going out there with a bigger club every week to just try to go 6-6. And obviously everyone knows that Dylan Edwards not only shut it down for the season, he shut it down for Kansas State altogether and announced his intentions to enter the transfer portal. So, like, if you want an indication maybe of where things might be headspace wise, that could be telling.
Yeah, I feel like for Austin Romaine, and that I'll move into headline two. Then we'll talk about Austin Romaine. Trust me, we're getting to Dylan Edwards. Everybody, I know we're making you wait a bit for that. Okay, but Austin Romaine, I felt like, you know, the memes, or like you'll see a tweet that's like, "Hey, for every like, I'll make X bigger." It was like, "Hey, for every like, I'll make Austin Romaine's club bigger." It just, you know, the thing kept getting bigger and bigger, and it was like if he was going to keep playing, eventually that thing was going to be, you know, as big as like Uso's leg or something. Anyway, he did shut it down. It feels like it's a decision of like, hey, like you said, DY, what's the point? I mean, even I thought Kleiman's explanation in the press conference basically said that, like, hey, we talked and just like, let's just shut it down right now. Like, and that is, I think you make such a good point there, DY. I think there are some in the fan base that still care about bowl games. Maybe it's not a ton of people anymore, but if you're a little bit more old school, but I think that is like insight into the psyche of this, even from a guy like Chris Kleiman, who you might think of as being a bit of a throwback when you get to this point in 2025 in college football coaching. I don't blame Austin Romaine one bit. I mean, it's a bummer, but I don't blame him one bit. In fact, like, I applaud him for going out and playing with, as big as that damn thing was, to go out and play Texas Tech with that and play really well. I mean, perhaps his best game of the season with that. Hey, tip of the cap, man. I don't blame you at all.
Yeah, I know there are some fans out there, probably a fewer number than it was at one point, absolutely, that still value a bowl game appearance because they probably started watching Kansas State in a time where it wasn't a given. So they don't take those for granted. But I would say anymore, like a lot of the fans, most of the players, most of the coaches understand that a bowl appearance at 6-6 carries little weight, and what they want to do and what they want to accomplish and how the game has shifted. So I think that's part of it. I don't think that makes Austin Romaine or Chris Kleiman a bad person. I think that makes them probably smart people for choosing what they did. And I kind of go back and wonder if the Texas Tech outcome was probably what was going to dictate whether or not he kept going. Had Kansas State beat Texas Tech, I bet he's still playing, because at that point you technically still have something material to play for because they were still in the Big 12 title race, hypothetically. So I bet that outcome probably was going to what factored into whether or not he kept playing. He's got a bright future ahead of him, whether it is another year of college football or, going to early into the NFL draft. I don't know what he's going to do, obviously. I haven't heard one way or the other. I know some people believe he's off to the NFL. I just haven't heard that, but I think it was the right choice here to do that because, I mean, technically, if you think about it, if he kept playing, he could hurt his value at that point.
Well, and even Cole, I would argue too, and this is another thing Kleiman talked about, from K-State's perspective, you get a chance to look more at Asa Newsome, for instance, as one linebacker, Gabe Powers, another that's going to play, in his stead, get more time. Like, it's probably better for you to get a live bullets flying eval on those guys as you try and evaluate again what the roster is going to look like next year.
And I also realize the NFL is an option for Romaine, but also if you decide to get something done now, like surgery or whatever it was, if he were to come back for Kansas State, maybe he can be back in time for spring ball.
Yeah, I would treat the last 3 games as an opportunity to play a lot of young guys and see what you have. Of course, you never know who's going to be back and who's going to enter the portal. You might actually just be putting on film for another school. Hey, this guy's looks like he's got some promise to him. But Yeah, I would probably like to see, I say Young, what is this, year 3 for him now, but really his first year where, he stayed healthy for the most part since coming off the back-to-back knee injuries. Thought he's been moving relatively well out there for the injuries that he has suffered. So happy to see him get a chance to play more. Hopefully, maybe you see some of those younger linebackers. I know they feel really good about the freshman linebackers they've got, and maybe we'll see a Darian Whitaker, one of the others that they have that they brought in the last recruiting class, and see what they've got there for a game or two and a few snaps. Same thing at other positions as well. Credit to Romaine for playing through the injury that he did. Obviously, to your guys' point, it just kept getting bigger and bigger, and so it made sense for him to move on for the rest of the season and let somebody else have their opportunity. We'll see what Romaine does. Be a big blow to the roster for next season if he does go to the pros or does the portal if he's not back at Kansas State.
I would seriously doubt the portal is an option for Romaine. I would think Kansas State or NFL, knowing that kid.
Yeah. Okay. So I guess you want him to have success at the NFL, but if you're selfish and a Kansas State fan, you'd really like your middle linebacker back going into year 4 of his career to have him returning. So we'll see what happens there with Romaine. It really feels, guys, like kind of to me like that 2015 season, doesn't it? I guess DY, you weren't here, but John, I know you didn't. Different quarterback situation. You've had Avery all season, and that year you had Joe Huebner and Cody Cook, and we're cycling guys in and out, but they were 3-6. And had to win 3 games, the last 3 to get to a bowl, and then they played in the Liberty Bowl, coincidentally, against Arkansas and got smoked. And that's just kind of where I'm at. It just feels like that they'll win 2 of their last 3 and get to 6-6 and go play a bowl game.
Yeah, I mean, you would have to try very hard to not wind up 6-6 at this point. Like Colorado.
I was going to say that the only team that could give Oklahoma State a run for their money right now in terms of like current performance, current product is Colorado. Yeah.
Colorado, I was going to pull I had the number of, they've lost like 110 to like 13 or so. It's a crazy combined stat. So I guess that I forgot they played at West Virginia last week. So they lost to Utah and Arizona by a combined 105-24 in back-to-back games. And I know Utah is good, right? That was Utah with a backup quarterback, by the way. Bird Ficklin played in that game. It was not Tevin Dampier. And then Arizona, who, I think is all right, but 52-17 in Boulder to Arizona. And then they lost to West Virginia, who's not very good. Colorado's really bad, is the point. Much like Oklahoma State. I'm not actually entirely sure which team is fully worse at this point.
Oklahoma State's obviously been the worst team across the entire year, but at the moment, Colorado might be playing worse than Oklahoma State.
Yeah, I would agree with
that. Oklahoma State has, speaking of margins, they have lost their 7 games against Power 4 opponents by a combined 225 points. That's an average of 32 points per game. They've lost 15 straight Big 12 games, guys. Obviously, they went 0-9 last year in league play. They're 0-6 this year. Their closest margin of loss this season versus a Power 4 opponent is 17 versus Kansas. So, look, they get blown out in every game. You have to win the game, obviously. You really need to manhandle Oklahoma State, or there's even more concerns. But the fan reaction from this game is going to be interesting because I'm not sure that they're going to play particularly well in Stillwater. I do think they're going to win, but again, I think it's going to be kind of sloppy. And when you look at the track record of Oklahoma State, they've lost 9 of their last 15 Big 12 games by 20 or more points, guys. They're ranked dead last, and they're the worst Power 4 team in the country in the FEI rankings and Brian Fremo's rankings. If you look across the board, they're 136 in the country out of 136 FBS teams in net points per drive. They're 135th in the country in net yards per play differential. This is the worst Power 4 team in college football. Colorado's coming on their heels with the way that they're playing right now. But again, I will just say, it's a 19.5-point favorite, and the SP Plus projects K-State 39-16. This is a game you should dominate. But I don't think that's necessarily going to be the case. Well, maybe they'll surprise me But you are playing a really, really bad team on Saturday with an interim head coach that's looking for a new permanent long-term head coach. I don't know what to particularly expect from Kansas State or Oklahoma State in this game, but I could see Oklahoma State come out a little bit motivated. I don't know if it's senior day for them. I haven't checked if it's their last home game in Stillwater. But again, it's just that atmosphere that Kansas State has historically seemed to struggle in. We have struggles in Stillwater too.
They still have the Cyclones at home.
Okay.
The Saturday after Thanksgiving, so they still have that. It's one of those, it feels like pointless games because Kansas State has nothing to gain and everything to lose.
Yeah, I mean, a couple things there. One, Cole, it's a good stat. They've been losing every game by 30 this year. It's the reverse Utah. I think I said that incorrect. Utah has won every Big 12 game they have won has been by 30 plus points. Yes, they did obviously lose to Texas Tech and they lost to BYU, but when they win, they beat everybody by 30. If you're Oklahoma State, you just literally lose every single game by 30 if you're playing a Big 12 game. But before we take a break and get to Dylan Edwards, Cole, I will just say when you say like, oh, I mean, you need to, or I can't remember your specific wording there, like you should blow out, blah, blah. For what? Like you need to for what? Like what's the why? What just to avoid the wrath of Cole coming in with a wave of stats on Twitter on Sunday morning?
That's pretty much it, John. I mean, Chris Kleiman needs to. Is what I'll say. This coaching staff needs to.
Yeah, I guess
as a fan, like I don't care necessarily. Like
I don't know if it proves anything though. Like,
well, I think if you
I'm kind of with Derek on that. I don't know what it proves really.
You don't think a loss to Oklahoma State would result in the meltdown of all meltdowns within this fan base and get some donors thinking?
Well, I'm not talking about a loss. I was saying this in the context of you're like, hey, you should win this blow. I'm thinking if it's
they win by 14.
Yeah, I don't.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah,
that's the only point that I would make on that. Yeah, if it's a loss, you're throwing gasoline on smoldering fire out there for fans and everybody for sure. Okay, calling all Chiefs fans. Hey, things are great in Chiefs world too. You could be on the field at the 50 inside GEHA Field for the official coin toss at a Chiefs home game this season. Visit Chiefs.com/GEHA now. Enter to win a chance to be on the field for a once-in-a-lifetime view of the pregame coin toss. Plus, you can score other exclusive prizes. Enter for a chance to win at Chiefs.com/GEHA. GEHA is the proud partner of the Kansas City Chiefs. We'll talk Dylan Edwards next.
My name is Terrell Jolly. A lot of people call me TJ, founder and CEO of Integrity Capital Management. So Integrity Capital Management originally started out as a property management firm, but we slowly transitioned to what is described as an incremental development firm that's focused on situational housing. I know most people say affordable, but we believe in creating housing for people that are actually in need and built to the end user. I believe everyone needs a home because when you have home, you have hope. The reality is that when you're building a business, one thing you don't think about is like what a true banking relationship means. And, I had the honor and privilege of meeting Debbie early on in my career when I was just trying to get going. And as a small business, it's really challenging at times because people don't understand the concept or not believe the longevity because you're just getting started. But Debbie was willing to take a chance on me, be patient with me. I almost look at it like a grassroots initiative. She's seen and believe what I'm about. Anybody that's really true about their business and want to get some things done, I would definitely trust hands down Emprise because Deb's team, along with Aaron and Jackie and all the amazing people that work behind the scenes, even from the treasury side, I would say, hey, give them an opportunity because you won't be disappointed and you will actually be in hands that actually somebody care and that will see you from start to finish.
All right, so it is the first show that we have had since Dylan Edwards did leave the program. We'll make this the top storyline of the week, which is brought to you by our friends at Elenco. Go to elencohome.com. That's ALENCO home.com to get hooked up for all your home improvement needs. Yeah, so Dylan Edwards is shutting it down. We had talked about this going back weeks, right? He had played just enough to still preserve the red shirt. He is going to move on to another school. Chris Kleiman didn't have a whole lot to say at the press conference. Pretty short. Said, hey, it's unfortunate. Wish him well. I'm just frankly a little bit exhausted by this whole saga. And that's on both sides. This is not about to be me just crushing the player. To me, this is just sort of represented some of the worst of all college football is now, the bad side of the business of it at this point, where look, I get why fans are frustrated. Obviously this has not worked out well. Dylan Edwards' season literally from play one, it was just doomed this year before we even got out of August. And I understand how frustrating that's been. It has clearly hurt this team. The rest of the running back room, decidedly average at best, and they desperately have needed him. I certainly understand how people think, like, hey, this guy has not been a great teammate. He certainly was somebody that you couldn't count on to be out there. That's what I can tell you for sure, because they just never had him available. So I'm with it. It does not seem like it was handled really well, but at the same time, it's just like some of the vitriol out there is just so insane, and all sorts of stories and rumors that people are wanting to buy into, some of which may be true, some of not. It's been kind of nasty, and I'm just tired of it all. I'm just relieved it's over. I guess I'll put it that way. I'm relieved it's over. I'm tired of how nasty it gets, and then how frustrating it is that he's not playing and nobody knows what's going on, and it was so mysterious. I just throw my hands up at this point.
Yeah, what I would say, we've known him for several years now, going back to when he was a pretty young recruit, and I would say a consistent thing would be that he does tend to find reasons or situations to be unhappy. So I don't know that. I mean, there are people that are just out there that are like that. Everyone has those people in their lives. I think he is one of those. At the same time, he is a dynamite playmaker that it is hard to say no to if given the chance to add him. And that's why Kansas State did. And obviously he's a legacy. He was an in-state kid. It was a sure shot of getting an explosive playmaker on the offensive side of the ball. So I realized why Kansas State went and did what they did and took him, because that's a good risk to take. But it is a risk, and there is downside to it, and we just witnessed the downside in the last year. So there's always going to be that possibility of entering into that type of situation when you have Dylan Edwards. On the flip side, if you're Kansas State, like, Dylan Edwards didn't get kicked off the team for clarity. He actually chose to leave. I don't know if Kansas State put up a fight. I really don't think that they did to try to keep him, but it was his decision to leave. And the problem if you're Kansas State is the gap between Dylan Edwards and anyone else you're giving the ball to in the backfield is pretty wide. The gap is large. That goes back to recruiting. That's Kansas State's fault, right? They don't have someone else pretty good to give the ball to at this point. A lot of teams have more than one running back they can count on to make a big play. I don't think Kansas State does.
Yeah, no, they under-recruited the running back room. Clearly some misevaluations there, and they're paying the price for it this season. They put all their eggs in the basket of Dylan Edwards, which proved to be a mistake. So, look, you kind of knew what you were getting into with Dylan Edwards when you took him, and unfortunately it didn't work out. So you had to take the talent. It was all there, but yeah, I don't have a lot of great things to say, so I'll stay relatively quiet on the subject, and I think it's just best for both parties to part ways. I don't think you were going to be able to rely on Dylan Edwards next year, even if he was back, so it's for the best that you just know he's not in the fold, and you move on and go get a couple of talented running backs in the portal, hopefully, because I think that's going to be what it takes. So we'll see where Dylan Edwards goes, what his stock looks like in the portal. I'm sure somebody will take a chance on the talent, but we'll see if he can maximize that and get the best out of his abilities.
Yeah, I mean, he's talented enough. There will be a big time market for him. Certainly a power four market for him. Yeah, I don't know. A lot of things I'm sure people probably want us to say more. I don't know. BY, do you have anything that you want to say about the situation, injury, not injury, whatever, or do we just move on here at this point?
I mean, I think for the last few games, or the games that he's met, I can't really speak to the initial injury of what happened at Iowa State. I can't say how it happened or the veracity of it. I don't know anything one way or the other. I'll assume that he was pretty banged up because the kid always tried to play. I know that for a fact. I don't think he ever was technically faking an injury, like some wanted to say. And I think by the time we just got here, I think he did the Baylor game where something crept up again on him, and I think he kept trying to gut it out because he was very adamant about playing because he wanted this year to be his final year of college football. People could laugh, but I mean, it was the kid's ambitions. It was his goals. It was his intentions to perform as absolutely as good as possible so he could leave and go pro as soon as possible. That was ultimately what he wanted to do. And I think pushing that may have exacerbated things a little bit too, to be quite honest. But I mean, at this point, I think that did turn into a fracture of some sort in his foot. And that's why we are where we are now.
I think you heard enough from credible people that this second go around, I think Arizona game, or what game was it that Baylor, when he re-aggravated something. I think you've heard enough from credible people, even after Dylan Edwards has announced he's leaving DY, that like people would, some people would jump on that and then start to trash the kid behind the scenes, that they reinforced to you that, there was an injury here in this second go around. I don't want to speak for you on that, but I think that's kind of the spot. I would question a little bit the first injury in terms of missing so much time, but whatever. Like, you guys know why there were questions around that. Like the play at Iowa State again in Ireland, it just looked like a normal football play, and he goes off the field looking fine, and ESPN comes back and they're like stunned that he's hurt. And then the Baylor game, the last play that everybody saw Dylan Edwards on the field is him sprinting full speed after a pick six on that play, and then he's done for the season after that. So that's why people call into doubt and question, because he seemed to be moving fine still. But, you never know. Like, some guys can be moving okay with a minor fracture or something and playing through pain. So I don't know. I'm not going to speculate too much on the injury front, but I think that's where the fans' mindset comes in. And obviously it's compounded by the fact that it happened at the 4-game mark that he played in, and you go through his history of committing, decommitting, etc. Like, that's just, a reputational thing that some people are going to call in and be skeptical about.
I'm confident enough and feel like I know enough on the front to not call into question the veracity of some of the injuries that he had and what he was willing to play through and not. He didn't bail. He didn't use an injury to bail. So I will stand up for him on that. But I also know enough. Well, I'm probably not going to stand up for him as a teammate.
Yeah. I mean, that's part of what I want. I'm glad you guys went there. I wanted to at least get that out there because it seemed so pervasive. People being like, "This is, there's no injury," blah blah blah. I mean, I think by the end of it, there definitely was. People can play with a fracture. I mean, that's what Baron Morton, for instance, is doing right now at Texas Tech. He's literally playing with a hairline fracture. So I mean, you can kind of play through that. It's not ideal if you watch Baron Morton try and move.
I believe it is the same injury that Dean Wade finished the game on in the game that won the Big 12 championship against Oklahoma. Now he barely could play after that, which is what we saw with Edwards, but he played that entire game with that.
Boy, just all the hits, DY, all the great memories that we have.
That was a stress fracture in his foot, and he finished that game with it.
That's the dunking on Brady Manick game.
Yeah, the reverse dunk. Yep, and he already had the stress fracture at that point, I was told. So,
man, okay, awesome. Love the foot injuries.
Interesting that Dean Wade's been mostly fine once he got into the NBA, though. So, but
he missed a lot of games last year.
Oh, did he? Okay, damn it. See, this is where I don't watch enough NBA.
Yeah, okay, you're out of your skis on that one.
Well, Cole, who are you coming after there? Are you coming after Bruce? Are you coming after the old basketball training staff? Are you coming after people?
It's the latter. Just feel like there's some injuries sometimes, and I don't know. Let's move on from any sort of discussion, right?
Yeah, I don't know if
that was a discussion this week on some of that stuff in our text. So yeah, well, we can move on from that, even though I thought it was interesting in Chris Kleiman's press conference that he was kind of complaining about having 3 buys, but then at the same time saying he has no bodies and nobody's healthy. So there was some irony in that. And the fact,
and remember, the year started with like less, putting less of a beating on their body in the camp, right? They were doing more conditioning as opposed to anyway, whatever.
He didn't used to be this way. I think he almost is kind of a little too unfiltered in pressers now, where someone probably needs to coach him up a little bit, because there's always something almost in every single one. Now it becomes more pervasive and frequent, and you catch everything when your team is losing. So maybe it was always that way, and now that they're struggling, we just hear or jump to conclusions of that a little bit more easier. But you don't we don't have to have a complaint each time.
Yes, there was always what people would say. It got a little Bruce Webbery. It got a little Bruce Webbery this year, where it just felt like it was there's always something.
And when you lose, people jump to that, and this is the type of fan base that doesn't want to no excuses, no bull crap. So this is the wrong fan base to conduct yourself that way in a press conference. And he seemed to do it more this year, and I'd have to go back. Maybe he did it a lot in 21, 22, and 23 too, and we just didn't care because they were winning for the most part.
Yeah, no, I hear you. It can be bothersome. I went back and rewatched the press conference earlier this morning from this week, and he kept talking about the 105-man roster limit again. And I'm just like, it's not changing. Like, how many times are we going to bring this up? Everybody's dealing with it. I know he acknowledged that too, but kept saying we just don't have enough guys. We have guys that are defensive players being scout team running back in practice, etc. It's figure it out, build the depth, other teams have. So we need to stop talking about this 105-man limit. And I know they had some bad luck and how that was handled, because they were trying to do right by some.
Okay.
But
the only way to get depth this anymore in college football, because of the transfer portal and how the talent spreads out, is you better have a lot of money.
Yeah.
Well, now there's a whole, didn't we just did a whole show on that, I guess, so we don't need to.
That's a fact. Because you're not going to get depth any other way, because guys are going to go, if the money is the same, they're just going to go somewhere else and start.
Well, you're not going to get quality depth.
Nope.
And that's a problem. That's why we're seeing at the top of the sport, there's way more parity right now, because Alabama and Georgia can't hoard an entire 2 and 3 deep of guys who would start other places, because even they, as many resources as they might have, they are not really able to.
They're not
pay guys enough to keep guys that talented on the roster. So some of that is just sort of to Cole's point, it's just a reality of where you're at, right?
Yeah. And I think rational people understand the reality. So, but maybe don't complain about the way Chris Lyman does. But if you want to hear somebody whine, Kirby Smart whines every week about why he can't add depth to Georgia anymore.
Yeah. I think that's a lot of coaches are this is new for a lot of these guys. They're not liking the situation that they're in suddenly, because it's not, tilted totally toward them as much as it used to be. So there are a lot of coaches complaining about this too. I think if we're going to be fair, he's far from the only one. And in 21, he was not having to deal with everything he's dealing with right now. So it's probably grinding on him a bit more. And we're seeing some of that. We doing an Oklahoma State preview?
Sure.
Cole's already dropped enough cursory information. Do you got more?
Are they still playing a receiver at quarterback, or is Zane Flores back? I don't.
Flores. Zane played last week.
Yeah, Zane Flores played against Kansas, returned after missing a couple games, was hurt October 4th against Arizona, returned last Saturday, went 22-28 for 235 yards.
I said last week, I guess they played 2 Saturdays ago. They had a bye too, right?
Yeah. So, look, let's see here. Where the hell are my offensive numbers? It's pretty much the worst pass. Well, it is the worst pass defense in the country. I guess they can just start there. They're last in the country in pass efficiency defense versus FBS opponents, allowing 9.4 yards per pass attempt. That ranks 134th in the country out of 136. Nationally, it's last among Power 4 schools. Their strength of their defense is their run. They only give up 4.6 yards per rush. That ranks 91st in the country. So that's the best part of it. If you look at their offensive numbers, I've already given some of them, but they average 4.5 yards per play on offense. That ranks 131st in the country. I'll just flip back and forth here. They allow nearly 7.4 yards per play on defense. That ranks 134th nationally. As a team, just over 1,500 yards passing through the air, 5.8 yards per pass, 56% completion percentage, 108.2 passer rating. They're 133rd nationally out of 136 teams, and worse than the Power 4 in passer rating. Same thing in yards per pass attempt, rank 133rd nationally, 3.5 yards per carry. I think that pretty much gives you a picture. 1.11 points per drive on offense, 133rd in the country, and 134th in the country in defensive points per drive, allowed at 3.59. They're last in the country, like I said earlier, net points per drive differential, which is the difference between your offensive points per drive and defensive points per drive. So 19.5 point favorite. Again, I went back to 2006 on covers. That's the only thing that I'd had time to go back and look toward. I went through season by season. Kansas State has not lost a game. The worst loss that they have is by Chris Kleiman this season in terms of being against the spread as a 17-point favorite against Army. I cannot find another one worse than that over the last, 20 or so seasons. But I'm quite confident, guys, and John, you correct me if I'm wrong. I don't remember what that Fresno State spread was in 05, 04.
2004 to open the season, 2004.
I think Harambe said that it wasn't 19.5 or what it is right now. So that Fresno team was regarded as an upset, not expecting K-State to lose that game, but that was when Pat Hill had that program going along pretty well. So I would be stunned if that against the spread mark doesn't go back into the early 90s at a minimum.
Yeah, I wouldn't think that was a pretty good Fresno team. Or program, at least at the time. I have no idea what the 2014 did, but yeah. Anyway, so hopefully it's not a loss. To Cole's point earlier, loss would be very bad. If it's a close win, I just, whatever. Just take it and move on.
Fresno State in 2004 went 9-3.
Okay, there you go. Yeah.
They won their bowl game. They went to the MPC Computers Bowl and beat Virginia in overtime.
I love a good NPC Computers Bowl. Take me back.
Well, we are going to take you back, John, to something this year.
Independence Bowl, which was the bowl that Kansas State lost.
Yeah, but where's galleryfurniture.com? Can we if K-State were going to play in the galleryfurniture.com bowl, I'd be really excited. But
I do miss the throwback sponsors, the Colligan Holiday Bowl, the Copperlock Weiser Bowl or Weiserlock Hopper Bowl. Gosh, I can't believe I screwed that up. So
before the MPC Computers Bowl, the who we're talking about, Fresno State had been to the Silicon Valley Football Classic 4 years in a row.
Do you wear the Jeep Eagle Aloha Bowl? Remember that one, man?
Whatever happened to Insight.com? I'm going to go to Insight.com and see what.
Oh, okay. It's risky. I don't know where that.
That's the bowl we were in last year. Is the Rate Bowl.
Insight.com. Yeah, in 2001 when K-State was there, it actually was the Insight.com bowl. Or maybe it was just Insight at that point. This looks like a. I would say that this looks like a not WordPress, maybe it's a site that could have been thrown together by AI pretty easily, but it looks passable as a nice business site. I have no idea what Insight seems to do. I have no idea if it's the same Insight that used to sponsor the Insight.com bowl, but if you go to Insight.com, it will take you to a functional website.
Can we start a bowl? The 3-mall bowl? What's it cost, guys?
Well, Matt Brown, who runs the Extra Points newsletter, he did sponsor a Division III bowl, I think somewhere in Ohio, DUI actually. So we could look into doing that. I don't know. Okay, an AIA or something.
Sure.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll think about it during the break. We'll be back in a moment.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Ben Heisler, KCSN betting analyst. We got some action on the gridiron in the Big 12 between K-State and Oklahoma State this weekend, where the Wildcats going on the road in Stillwater as a 19.5 point road favorite with a total right now of 52.5. We'll get to a play in the game coming up in just a second. But before we do that, got to ask you whether or not your favorite touchdown is now. Is it later? What's an all-timer for you? For me, I continue to harp on it, guys. It's the next one. And that's because with DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the National Football League, every touchdown can bring you closer to cashing in. If you haven't bet on touchdowns over at DraftKings, you're missing out on a lot of fun. You can jump in on a first touchdown score play. Anytime touchdown props are always a popular choice, or the thrill of live in-game betting. Getting on some of those anytime touchdowns after the game is kicked off, you can find some great odds moving up from a player that hasn't gotten in the end zone early. There's all sorts of opportunities over at DraftKings Sportsbook, and the best part is new customers who bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you get $300 in bonus bets instantly. So what do we make of this matchup? As I mentioned, Kansas State in the direction of getting close to 3 touchdowns on the road against Oklahoma State with a total of 52.5. Personally, I'm on the under here. I like the under at 52.5. The Cowboys, you guys, just they can't score. If we're talking about some of their actual offensive numbers the course of this year, they have the worst ranking of touchdowns per red zone receptions in all of the power conferences. So you have an improved K-State team now taking on an Oklahoma State team that has basically punted on the entire season. Nearly every game, with the exception of the Tulsa game, has been a blowout. And we're also seeing a Kansas State team get better at pressuring the quarterback. They've generated the second most sacks in the conference. This just doesn't feel like an opportunity for Oklahoma State to put their foot on the gas pedal at any point and get their offense rolling. Maybe they played solid defensively early on, but we've seen K-State put on some better second half numbers over the course of the year. I just expect this to be an ugly one. And rather than worry about whether or not they're going to catch up on the points, I think 52 is plenty, 52.5. So give me the under in this matchup for my play in K-State and Oklahoma State. So remember, if your team hits pay dirt, that just means it pays out to you. All you have to do is download the DraftKings Sportsbook app, use the code KCSN. That's code KCSN for new customers to turn $5 into $300 in bonus bets if your bet wins. Get in on it today in partnership with DraftKings. The crown is yours. Remember, if you have a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 8778-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY to 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Just call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly on behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas. Pass-through of per-wager tax may apply in Illinois. You must be 21 plus age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Bet must win to receive bonus bets which expire in 7 days. Minimum odds required. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, visit dkng.co/audio. Limited time offer.
Okay, I've got some quick hitters for you,
I just
gentlemen.
noticed Nick's note in the chat. Second break after Cole's sad breakdown. Sad breakdown. That's a good
Well,
way
I
to
thought
put
you
it.
meant, where's GoDaddy?
Oh, there's that too. Yeah, the GoDaddy.com bull.
Yeah.
Cole did have a very sad. Yeah, but see, here's the thing. Like, I know GoDaddy's still around. Like, I know that's still a thing. GalleryFurniture.com. I mean, I guess I could check that one. Gallery Furniture. Like, that literally just seems like it's like some regional furniture place that was doing well enough in like 2002 that they were like, yeah, look, I go to Gallery Furniture. Oh, this is that guy. It's the guy. It's Mattress Mac is who it is. It's that guy that bets a ton of money on like the Astros or like he did TCU in the championship game against Georgia. That one didn't work out well, but that's Mattress Mac. So, okay, that guy does have a ton of money. My brain is exploding with this. I did know the time that GalleryFurniture.com was Mattress Mac.
I still miss when it was the Tostitos Fiesta Bowl and FedEx Orange Bowl. Like,
Yes. Yeah, I agree with you. I miss all the original like names, sponsors.
the Nokia Sugar Bowl.
Yeah, Southwestern Bell, Cotton Bowl.
Guys, that is not the fun of bowl games. The fun of bowl games was how ridiculous the .com sponsors got right around the 2000s.
Yeah, I like that much. I like just the traditional.
Me too. The Southwestern Bell, though, I can't get on it. This like 18. What was it? What was after that? I don't know. 18 feet.
Southwestern Bell was the '96 Cotton Bowl for K-State.
Yeah, that's not a big one for me.
Yeah.
Nick, not aware GoDaddy's still a thing. GoDaddy's still going strong, man. I have a website domain through GoDaddy.
You know, in defense of the Liberty Bowl, they've had one of the longest running sponsors, and like AutoZone's been on that baby for a while.
Yeah. Touche. I'm still.
All right, man. Those are those quick hitters. I'm so excited. Can't wait. Been waiting for it all week. What we got?
Glasses. Which program plays in a Big 12 championship game again first? Oklahoma State or K-State?
Yeah, I'll go K-State. I think Oklahoma State. It could very well be Oklahoma State, but I'll go K-State because Oklahoma State has a bare hole to climb out of. From just not only do they have to get themselves up financially, but they have to put like the infrastructure and organization really into place because they never did it.
Good question. I'll take Oklahoma State.
You can explain yourself.
Well, it depends on who they hire as a coach, but they've made the move now to hire a new coach. And I guess it's a hard question to answer because I don't know who that guy is going to be that they hire. But if they hire the right guy, I would probably take Oklahoma State. So
I would also want to know the specifics of what's happening like financially for them behind the scenes, because that's such a key. But I will say they acted with the appropriate aggressiveness on Mike Gundy. So that seems to be a positive indication that they're, have I said this before? Like meeting the moment, understanding the sense of urgency that's required right now. They are doing that. So
they just haven't really hired well lately, but yeah, we'll see.
They've been embarrassed, so we'll see if that embarrassment drives. It's clearly driven some change, and we'll see if it drives the donors and everybody to give to the level that's needed.
Yeah, I mean that's really your debate here. It's like K-State, is not starting from as far down, but potentially higher upside for Oklahoma State if you believe in. I mean, if they're going to hire like Alex Golish, my answer would probably be Oklahoma State.
Yeah, I think he gets an SEC job, but yeah.
Yeah, there's enough jobs open that also is a thing to consider too. It might be tougher, in terms of who Oklahoma State's going to wind up polling. All right, which total number of points will be higher? K-State basketball against Cal on Thursday, or K-State football combined points in the final 3 games of the season. Okay, and if you want a little bit of a cheat sheet here, the basketball team right now is averaging 95 points per game. The football team is averaging 29 points per game, which extrapolated over 3 games would be 87. So you're looking at, if they play to their averages, basketball would score 95 and football would hit 87. So which are you taking to be higher?
I'm going to take basketball because I think they'll probably get at least 80 or 85. And I think there's a real chance that football can maybe be stuck on 10 or so in Salt Lake.
Yeah, I'm going to get 3 points in Utah. So then you got to score about 35 plus against Colorado and Oklahoma State. I did just tell you they have the worst defense in college football.
The thing is, they could score 35 apiece against Oklahoma State and Colorado, and you only need 10 or 15 in Utah, but I don't know if you get it.
I still think it's asking a lot for basketball to score, into the mid to upper 80s against Cal in like their first test. And I'm not saying it's great.
Cal's kind of a fast-paced, high octane too, though.
Yeah. So I'll take K-State basketball still. But it'll be close.
Mattson, the way he coaches is fine playing a game in the 90s, though. That's the thing.
I will go basketball, but yeah, that was part of the point there. Like, you think basketball is going to keep scoring like that when they go up against somebody that, a legit opponent. But it's fun, dude. I like scoring 90 every game, man. This is great. So much prefer this to the, winning games 60-48 in the non-conference, which felt like happened in the
still rather win than lose. Keep the main thing here.
We'll see.
Well, of course, but I'm saying if my choice is, hey, I get these Bruce Weber defensive slugfest where you win 60-48 over whoever it is that you're playing in a Winston-Salem State or whatever, I would prefer to win 95-70. That's a lot more fun.
I will be in Bramlage Thursday night. It does bring back a little bit of PTSD flashbacks to the LSU game on a Thursday night last year. Cam Carter returned home, and Day Ames is having a nice start to the season, averaging 22 a game. coming home.
Oh, but Cole, remember when Frank Martin and Michael Beasley and company beat Cal at home in 2007?
Cal had Ryan Anderson, who was a really good player, who went on to eventually play in the NBA. They had one other really good player. Yeah, John, I was at that game just on the heels of recovering from pneumonia. So,
Wow.
I was invested.
Playing tough. He was on the injury report and still there.
Yeah.
No, that was my freshman year of college, man. I was there with bells on. Which young player would be most encouraging to see pop in the final 3 games of the season? DY, I know you wrote a little bit about something to this end earlier this week, so I stole it from that. But I don't know, is it like Asa? Is it one of the freshman linebackers? Devon Rice? Who do you think would be most encouraging to see go off in the final 3 weeks?
See, I mean, it'd be cool for something like Darian Whitaker, right? But like, how much can you play a freshman linebacker and still make sure you're beating Oklahoma State and Colorado? So, and there's technically 4 linebackers ahead of them. Like Asa Newsom's going to be backed up by Gabe Powers. Desmond Purnell's going to be backed up by Rex Van Wy. Like, we saw Austin Romaine, as good as he is as a true freshman, he was a complete disaster part of the time. And so you got to make sure you're still winning games too. So I'm going to try to find a player that hasn't played a lot yet, but has a realistic chance of playing a lot down the stretch. And I would say like Lincoln Cure has a chance to he's playing 15 snaps a game anyway, so it's not unrealistic to see him maybe go up to 20, 25. Wide receiver Adonis Moise. I mean, as long as Jerron Bradley's out, he's going to play a bit. So maybe if he popped, that would be some fun. You're going to need a running back to pop. Like, to be honest, I think Davon Rice has popped. I'm surprised he hasn't played more. Why they don't trust him more? And then a Marion Fortenberry at corner, I think makes a lot of sense too, given what he started to play in the last couple of games. And no, I'm going to go Fortenberry because I've actually liked him every time that he has played this year. Surprised he hasn't played a little bit more, but it sounds like he's been banged up too. So I think there's a chance he plays quite a bit down the stretch.
Yeah, I was going to say Cure probably. Yeah, it would be nice to see if you have more than 3 capable wide receivers. I think that's allowed in the sport. Kansas State loses one guy and they just don't get production from a third guy and act like it's the end of the world. I mean, they don't have depth in wide receivers, so I'd like to see if there's somebody else in the wide receiver group that could step forward. If that's Moise, we heard some buzz on him and he's gotten meaningful snaps this season, but hasn't done much as far as production.
Yeah, well, he's missed 5 games for injury too.
So yeah. Anyways, Cure would be my pick. I like Fortenberry too, DY. I think he plays with physicality the times that I've seen him as well. But I don't know. John, who do you got?
I can't believe I didn't even put Lincoln Cure on the list. My apologies there. But that takes care of some of your pass catching. I know he's a tight end, but that can certainly help. He'd be high on the list, but I'm just like, show me something at running back. So you're not gonna have to you're not gonna have to portal like an entire new running back room in. So I guess Devon Rice. I mean, I'm with DY. We've seen some nice things from him at times. What's more likely? Texas Tech makes the top 4 of the playoff rankings and gets a bye, or the Big 12 gets 2 teams in the playoff overall.
Say it again. Sorry.
More likely, Texas Tech makes it into the top 4, or the Big 12 gets 2 teams in.
2 teams in. Because I think Utah can win out, not even make the Big 12 title game, and still make the playoffs.
Who's Tech got left, John, on the schedule?
Nobody. UCF and West Virginia.
They're not. It's going to be the 2 teams that played in the Big 10 title game, the 2 teams that played in the SEC title game, in the top 4. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. I'll go with 2 teams getting into the playoff from the Big 12. I do think, Utah is going to win out. Don't you think, John?
Yes, I do. Yeah, they've got a manageable schedule. The point on the top 4, I mean, Georgia still has to play Texas and Georgia Tech. That's one of the teams in front of Texas Tech.
It's going to be Alabama.
And, okay, well, Alabama has, you can laugh if you want, Alabama has Oklahoma and at Auburn, which I think are both losable because Alabama plays a lot of close games.
And they can still lose one of those, go to the SEC championship and win it.
Well, if they lose one of those, though,
they lose. Yeah, I don't think this is as much a foregone conclusion as you're making it out to be. But
I don't think that the committee or I think it was caked in when they made these rules that there will be 2 SEC, 2 Big 10 in the top.
If Alabama were to lose to Auburn though, and then win the SEC title, they wouldn't get top 4 because they would have had losses to Florida State and Auburn, who are like 5-7, 6-6 type teams, right? So they would get hit for that. But if they win out, and then win, obviously they'll get top 4. Auburn is, with DJ Durkin and like they turned it over to Ashton Daniels. They looked feisty last week. They might have.
I mean, they should have beat Vandy, which would have been helpful to the Big 12's cause.
Yeah, well, they should have beat a lot of teams. That's what they've done all year.
Yeah, I mean, yes, they did. They had Georgia down, but this was. I mean, they were up by 2 touchdowns at one point.
Right. I'm just saying, like, losing by a little to a good team is nothing that Auburn hasn't done already this year.
I mean, because they're talented enough to do it. The point is here, I do think it's a debate. I would lean slightly toward 2, but
plus I don't think the ACC is getting 2 in. That's part of it too.
You're kind of looking at what do you think is more likely? Does like Notre Dame lose to Pitt because for the Big 12 to get 2 in, that may be a necessary part of it is that Notre Dame's going to have to lose. Or do you think that you get a couple losses out of Alabama and Georgia to those?
I mean,
teams?
the SEC can have 4. The Big Ten, let's say the Big Ten gets 4 for some stupid reason, and a group of 5 Notre Dame. That's still, I mean, I think the Big Ten's getting 3. So 7 Notre Dame G5's 9. I don't think the ACC is getting 2, so I think it's likely the Big 12 gets 2. The ACC,
the SEC is what you're going to worry about, DUI, because you'll have
5.
Three lost Texas and Oklahoma are going to be a problem, and 2 lost Vandy can be a problem. Vandy just has to beat Tennessee at the end of the year. Your problem's going to be the SEC.
But if you go by the SMU logic, what if just Tech wins out and loses the Big 12 title game? That's a way to get 2.
Yes, you are correct. That is another way to do it. Who you see beating Tech in the?
Yeah, I don't. But BYU's still high enough now too. If they went out and just lose a Big 12 title game, it's still the SMU logic again.
I don't think. I would like to think that. I don't think that would happen.
Okay, and what about Utah then? You just said they were winning out. They're 11-1 in that.
Yeah, we'll see. We're back to the SEC. Do you? I think you're going to have Texas and Oklahoma sitting there, and Vandy all sitting there that are going to be. And Sankey's applied all this pressure over the last year to the committee. I think that's the SEC is the problem.
That's fair. Another nightmare scenario is Georgia Tech wins out, loses in the ACC championship because they would get a win over Georgia in that scenario.
Yes, you are correct. That would be. I still don't know that would be enough. They don't seem to like Georgia Tech very much, but you're right. That complicates it. Finally, more jaw-dropping play from Saturday. Fernando Mendoza to Omar Cooper for Indiana in the back of the end zone, or Dante Moore's pass to Malik Benson for Oregon that set up the game-winning field goal. Because I know everybody will say, Gus Johnson in Indiana or whatever. I don't know that I've ever seen a pass as perfectly thrown as what Dante Moore threw to, of course, our old friend Malik Benson to win that game.
I think the caliber of catch was far better in the Indiana game, and obviously we went for the game-winning touchdown.
Guys, you'll be shocked. I only saw the play for Indiana, so that would be what I would have to go to. I didn't get to see the play that happened in the Oregon game because I was out to dinner with my family.
The throw was better.
I really was.
Mendoza just threw it up for grabs. He was in pressure. He was fortunate the guy made a hell of a catch. But Dante Moore's throw is far better.
Shout out to Casa Amigos in the South Olathe neighborhood. Was out there with my family. The TV was at a far distance for the Iowa-Oregon game to where I couldn't quite visualize what was going on, guys. We sat in a booth on the non-bar side. Vanessa didn't catch on when I said, can we sit on the bar side? So I didn't have great visualization for our television, but I was really engaged with my kids. So didn't see
what if K-State were having a good season, though, would that have been the case?
Out to dinner with my family. It is a bye week, John. I probably still could have been.
I know. I feel like your dauber's just down across the board with football at this point.
Yeah. I was more willing to just leave the house on Saturday and not watch football all day because, I'm not even as locked in on Maction right now.
I know. I can tell your heart's just not.
Come back by Akron last night. I mean, I watched most of the game, so I'm lying to you. I was still locked in. Actually.
Hey, speaking of locks, lead pipe lock of the week is getting heated. I'm 5-4. DUI's 5-4. I missed again. Cole is 4-5. What do you got for a lead pipe lock of the week this week?
Well, I mean, thank you to Cal for throwing a pick six on the last 40 seconds.
I like that pick too. I would have done it.
Yeah. DY, go ahead. You pick.
I'm first. All right. Give me the Duke Blue Devils. Bouncing back after the loss against UConn and beating Virginia, who I think is probably dead man walking the rest of the year.
Where'd you get that hat?
5.5.
It's a nice hat. I like the hat.
Yeah.
Duke, 5.5. I think Duke's a weird team too because they actually are 5-4, but still in the ACC title race, squarely in the ACC title race because 3 of their 4 losses are in non-conference. They lost to UConn, Temple, and someone else. Illinois. UConn, Temple, or not Temple, UConn, Illinois, and someone else. Tulane.
I thought about actually I think Alabama will cover the number, even though you guys mentioned they play in close games. I think they'll cover the number against Oklahoma in Tuscaloosa. I'm going to take BYU bouncing back at home, night kick, late.
I almost took that, but I figured one of you would.
TCU looked horrible off a bye. I watched some of that game. I mean, just awful. Josh Hoover was bad. To lose to that Iowa State team and to only put up 17 against that secondary, awful. So yeah, I'll take BYU at home. Late kick. They play well under the lights in Provo.
I think there's a better Big 12 game than that. I think there's a better team from the state of Utah to pick in a Big 12 game than that. What did I say about Utah earlier today? Utah wins every single Big 12 game. When they win it by 30 plus. They're an 8.5-point favorite in Waco. Utah smashes Baylor. Baylor.
Probably.
I also considered Indiana. That line's huge, but they're playing Wisconsin, who just came off of a win finally. And Indiana usually bow races everybody, with last week being the exception. Miami, 14.5 against NC State, also like that. And Texas against Georgia.
No, Miami. I don't know that I put any of my hard-earned money on Miami this year, but just me. Okay. Predictions. Look, I got K-State like 38-23 in Stillwater. 38-23.
I think I 34-21. Yeah.
Interesting, guys. I will take Oklahoma State 20, Kansas State 28.
Okay. Thanks for the suspense. That really.
I got you guys again.
Yeah.
Didn't know where I was going because I led with the opponent first. I think it'll be a weird score. It'll be a weird kind of anti-dramatic game. Be interesting to watch. Kind of here for the theater. So
Cole, you can't. A magician never gives away his tricks, man. You can't just tell us what you did with the joke there. Now everybody knows that they can do that. People are going to take it and do that. You could have kept that a secret.
Copyrighted it, John. I copyrighted that move. So, DY, will you be in Stillwater?
No, Mason's a 2-hour drive away. I'm not going to that game.
Wow. DY's checked out. Nobody is engaged. So,
do you guys blame me? Mason's a 2-hour drive. You can get there, go there and back in the same day.
John, let's go. Let's go be one of the 8,000 people in attendance.
You guys got to take your shirt off and you guys got to join that crew.
You can spell out Walmart. We can write out 3 on our chests if we need one more person to join. So.
That's pretty funny. Just Cole and I trying to encourage the entire K-State section to do it to match the energy there at Boone Pickens Stadium.
That would be funny. It really would if we had an equal amount section.
Yeah. Get some students there, man. Some students who don't have anything else to do this weekend that listen to the show. Go fire it up. Go start it. And paint 3 on your chest.
I will say, I know the last 2 years Kansas State basketball's been kind of lethargic themselves and not great. But each time they play in Stillwater, they kind of take it over in basketball. Gallagher Iba, there's nobody there but Kansas State fans.
You guys could stay with me. I'm not far from Stillwater, according.
That's true. Cole's it's just a nice little morning commute,
They're playing in his backyard.
Yeah, no, I just walk right out of my house and I'm at Eskimo Joe's. So
yeah, that's the morning walk. He's down to Eskimo Joe's.
Actually, it's the pizza place is what I like there. Highway. Yep.
Yeah.
Oh boy. All right. Well, thank you to everybody for sticking through this one. Fun as always.
We did over an hour on the Oklahoma State game.
That does mean we'll have you for post game on Saturday, DY. at around 2:45, 3-ish. Can't wait to talk to you guys. So.
Yeah, it'll be great.
Thanks, folks.
Thank you to all of our great sponsors. Holiday Distillery. Get your Ben Holiday bottled and bond bourbon ready for Saturday. And if you have any home improvement needs, Elenco has your hookup there. And GalleryFurniture.com. Thank you for sponsoring Threema, as always, here. For Nick Springer, Derek Young, and Cole Manbeck, I'm John Kurtz. Thanks for listening to another edition of Threema.